Welcome to this week's edition of People Over Politics. As always, we have a new guest. This guest, he's coming from gorgeous Prince George's. Of course, one of my favorite places in my home county. Thanks for joining us today, Kenneth.
Glad to be here. Glad to be here.
Yes, and so Kenneth, I've known you for several years as being a voice for the voiceless. Speaking up from a place of empathy. And leading. With compassion, and always putting people first. If I got $1, you got 50 cents. That's the type of person I've always seen you to be. But for people who don't know you, tell them about who you are and what you do.
I had so many different things. Well, I am actually the director of the group called the We Take Care of Us movement. That focuses on combating injustices that plague the Black community, housing insecurity, food insecurity, gun violence, intervention, educational disparities, and etc. Um, that's one of the things that I do. Also, I host a show called the Uncut Live Productions um, show that's can be found on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. That is an unapologetically speaking, grassroots, boots on the ground community news outlet that focuses on being the voice, unapologetic voice for the Black community without being cut, edited, or censored. Um, just highlighting and showcasing the good, bad, ugly, and indifferent uh, things that transpire within the Black community. Also, most recently, I am the newly honorable Reverend Dr. Kenneth Clark, uh, 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 who
Congratulations.
operates in with an outreach ministry that focuses on shining the light and breathing hope into the community that deals with injustices such as the discrimination, racial discrimination, just so many different things that plague the Black community. Happen to be um, one of the advocates that help bring about reform for the PAB in Prince George's County, the Police Accountability Board. So you name it, I'm pretty active and I'm pretty involved with trying to uh, transition and be a voice for the Black community.
Absolutely. So I'm glad you touched on that. You're not just helping the unhoused community or the transition, people transitioning. You're also out there fighting for criminal justice rights.
Yes.
And that's something I commonly forget. The police accountability boards, for anybody that doesn't know, that was a big thing. A lot of counties across the state have now implemented or went towards implementation of the police accountability boards. I would say that, I haven't been following it closely, but I remember that, initially looking at a lot of the recommendations from the county executive and what we actually got from the police accountability board, I would say that there was still more to be desired. There was still more to be desired. But you, someone who was intimately involved in that fight and in the implementation, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm on now. I'm unapologetically speaking.
We wouldn't tell you to hold your tongue. So at the end of the day, speak your truth. Speak your truth.
What I feel is that we got a watered down version
Sure.
of that reform. There was too many discrepancies because you established this board, but a lot of people didn't know who these individuals are. You just say, "Hey, I have this team of folks," and you make a decision without enlightening or allowing the community to be part of the vetting process. And then once the community starts to tackle and handle and say, hold up, you say you have this board. Well, who's on it? Why weren't we included? You know, what was the vetting process? How did you just manage to create this and do this in light given the fact of the wake of George Floyd,
Sure.
this is the very thing where or what we're talking about with the community justice system, it being inclusive, having the people to be involved. How is it that you can just sit here and just delegate and just create something and leave everybody uninformed and lost? So to be honest with you, there's not an A in my book. I think the grade, if I have to give a grade, it would be an F because it's like, is this really a policy? And from time to time, it was not one uh, session that I didn't miss. I mean, it got to the point where a couple of comrades of mine, colleagues from the We Take Care of Us movement, we was working at this 24/7. Like, hey, even down to like 2 a.m. in the morning, when meetings were supposed to be had. I mean, literally, we were literally on Zoom calls, waiting, sitting, and to no avail. And then it was a lot of rescheduling and counseling out. So it's like, what? How are we creating the doorway to improving and while including we the people to be involved with this? And so I'm I'm not pleased with it.
Sure.
I'm
And
not pleased with it at all.
that brings me to some points, right? And so the biggest thing about it is the public information campaign, right? So for one, to even get out the information to the public to know that this exists, right? Like I know that as you had mentioned, the application process it was uh it was very secretive to say the least, secretive and um always changing form, right? Like here's another obstacle, or this is canceled. So those things aren't um, very good when you're trying to get out information, right? Like it's hard for people to follow. Like for you, someone who was, intrinsically invested, you guys, tried to seek out to the best of your ability and be involved. But imagine the everyday layperson, right? That's just trying to learn about this. So yeah, it wasn't the best public information campaign. I always say that as much as we use social media, we could definitely use social media to share information. But it seems as like when it comes to like the government sharing information, we only share what we would like to share, what we would like the people to see. Not what they should see, and you know what they have the right to see. To be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah, it definitely, in my view, it should have been a better process. And if you look at the assistant counties, they did a way better job with uh, getting the information to the public. I mean, I saw several different meetings that was had specifically to say, hey, this is not, they weren't trying to rush. They were very active. Take, for example, Charles County, Maryland. Very transparent, very transparent. I had the ability to speak with several different colleagues that were, a part of that, other individuals that live in the county. And they stated, they let me know like it was all very fair, inclusive. It wasn't a rush. It wasn't like, oh, we trying to hurry up and do this behind anybody's back. It was a very open door policy, transparent, um, and I for Prince George's County to be um, the county coming from such a historic uh, uh, culture, because Prince George's County, a lot of people don't know, Prince George's County has a very strong uh, 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 it's very historic, and I don't just say it from the historical context. You used to back in the uh, uh, 60s. Matter of fact, my one of my mentors were telling me that they had sundown town
True. Facts.
where literally like the culture surrounding policing. Okay, there's a very strong, significant climate. Okay, of 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 of, of, of its ability in what it has in the county, and this is not to be negative, but this is just to, bring the proper perspective that, it's not enough to just have history to learn about it, to read about it, but it should be that we use it as a stepping stone to improve, to enhance, and to make better improvements and not just be dealing with this, not just taking things very
Profound. Yeah.
profound,
And I agree. And so let me segue there, right? So we talked earlier, and as you know, there's a rent revolution. The housing justice, of course, has been reinvigorated. Would you say you're blacklisted? In some circles, for telling the truth.
Oh, certainly so, certainly so. And I have said this on my show. In a few months, we're going to be embracing, celebrating Black history, right? Even though I have my viewpoints and my perspectives are a little bit different because it's like, okay, I'm not just Black on one whole month. Yeah, I'm Black 365 days a year, right?
Of course, of course.
so so you two could do condense, but that's a whole nother subject. But what I'm saying is that we're getting ready to celebrate this month, okay, this Black History Month, and we learn about pioneers that have created the segue for us to be unapologetically speaking, to be proud, to embrace where we have come from. Marcus Garvey, I mean W.E.B. Du Bois, Ida B. Wells. I mean, we can't just look at history and be like, yeah, these are the greats, these are what people have done and accomplishment. No, these were the pillars for
Yeah.
us to leverage our way to be Black and proud, Black and proud. So it's like, hold up, our ancestors, what Malcolm X said, by any means necessary, right? We have the beloved Dr. King, who's about human rights. And so it's like, when we get this level of education and knowledge, why are we acting weak and docile? So, I have been very, very passionate about this. Okay. Number one, first of all, we need to, first, just honestly speaking, we need legislation for the homeless population. Period. Legislation.
Mm.
Period. We don't have that conversation. We
And
have a lot of
if you talked about legislation from someone who's been affected and someone who's advocating, what does that legislation look like, or what would you intend for that legislation to do?
so if you look at, not even just in Prince George's County, but if you look at large, okay, because I do DMV around, I do wrap around advocacy around the whole DMV region. One of the things that is shockingly to me is that you have a lot of unhoused individuals, okay, that get unnecessary charges. So I don't know if you remember a year back or so on my platform, I was very outspoken about how in Camp Springs, Maryland, we had individuals that were unhoused. As a matter of fact, they were in tents. And they were charged that charged for being homeless. I had that incident, and there
And
was another incident.
charge like they were given a ticket, or they were like
They were given a ticket to say, you know what, hey, you guys can't be here. If you're not out here, if you're not dismissed from here within the next 4 hours, clink clink. Clink clink meaning we are arrested. And some of those individuals, they chose that route to get arrested because they said, you know what, at least I'll be provided with a cop. At least then at least then I will be accommodated with some form of housing. So
wow.
That's just one incident. Another incident happened where I had a call from a young man by the age of 20 years of age. Okay, he was given a loitering pass because he was sitting at the transit bus terminal station, not doing nothing wrong, not doing anything. They told him he had been sitting there for over 24 hours. He didn't have a warming center, a cooling center, or anywhere to go. The only men's shelter that's been full to capacity beyond 10 years. You have to have a cell phone in order to call 7 days a week to get your name, to make sure that your name is still staying on the list. So that way your name can supposedly move to the top. So we had that issue. So that one right there really pushed the straw to where I reached out with my coalition. We was on the call, spoke with the state's attorney's office, and we asked the state's attorney's office, would you mind having a community liaison of individuals, community organizations, nonprofits, to become partner with you so that poverty won't be penalized as a crime? And the response was, we're not a babysitter. We are the state's attorney's office. We're not DSS. Go to DSS to get them to accommodate your request. We're the state's attorney. So that just lets you know right there that there's a disconnect. See, we keep trying to, again, arrest and jail our way out of these systemic issues, not getting to the root cause. We want to criminalize homeless people. We want to criminalize poverty. We want to lock them up and arrest them without getting to the solutions. So when
No. I'm sorry. Finish your statement. I was going to ask you a question.
So, just incident like that, a lot of them, they say, you know what? He keeps showing up at these meetings. He keeps emailing. He keeps lobbying. He keeps letter writing. He keeps showing up. So guess what? We don't want him in these meetings. I heard this myself. They thought they had muted me on some of the virtual conferences, but literally. And when I chimed in, I said, okay, this is how you feel. But here's one thing. As a registered voter, I'm going to let my vote do more power with my voice because my vote is just as powerful as my voice. That's how I play.
As you should. And so, a couple key points you brought up, that the root cause of crime is poverty. It's not even arguable. Would you, as someone who's been in the community, would say that, there's been an increase in homelessness, since the pandemic?
I can definitely tell you that it's been an increase. Shout out to I always get the name of this organization right, but I happen to do some cross community advocacy with them. Lars, if I'm saying that correctly.
Rural advocacy referral services, they're great. Yes.
And I say that because about less than a month or so ago, Lauren Hamilton from WTOP News Radio um, put out an article. The title of it is Prince George's County uh, Hike in Homelessness. And two of the things that it highlights in the article is the food disparity, which I have always said when as I do my teaching with my seminars, I talk about the three fibers that are needed for to be successful. The first fiber is the mental fiber, spiritual fiber, and the physical fiber. The physical fiber is not just your physical body fiber, but your physical fiber is your environment, your atmosphere, your demographics, what's happening, what molds and shapes your development. So that means your community, your schooling, your education, your healthcare, all those different things. So those are your three fibers, right? One of the things I appreciated about that article was because they talked about the food being lack of access of healthy nutrition contributing to the makeup and the plight of the community. Think about it like this. A lot of the communities either have liquor stores. I'm not telling everybody don't drink or anything like that, but if you look at a lot of the communities, predominantly a lot of the communities that face crime, if you may, we have more drug stores than we actually do produce. Okay,
Yep.
fresh produce.
It does it. Yeah.
I had a couple of seniors reach out to me after the pandemic, even though I still say we're still in the midst of a pandemic. Um, senior reached out to me and said, she asked me this question, and it touched my heart. She said, Mr. Clark, you mean to tell me that as me being a senior citizen, that the only time that I should get fresh produce is when we have a pandemic? Now that the pandemic is over, there's no programs being implemented as it was in the plight of the beginning of the pandemic. And she also told me, she said, one of the things that really bothered her was when there was the food produce giveaway, a lot of the giveaways were still far, far away from senior citizens getting access to it. So if you think about the position, a lot of the rural areas in Prince George's County, some of those areas, Brandywine, Akakeek, public transportation is not as fluent to where a lot of these individuals, a lot of these constituents are at to be able to go maybe somewhere if they're having a food produce giveaway in Bowie or somewhere, somewhere where it's accessible. So you have the health and wellness being a contributing factor that is plaguing the crime. Let's face it, if you don't have how they say you are what you eat. If you don't have healthy nutrition, your mental capacity and how you function and how you operate, it's not going to be one that's healthy. If a person is in the what do they call it, flight or flight or survival of the fittest mode.
Yep.
They're not going to be safe for themselves. Neither are they going to be safe for anybody around them. But we won't have these conversations surrounding crime. It's we need more police officers. We need tougher laws on crime. Arrest them. We need more jail cells. We need more jail centers built. And that's not getting to the root of anything. There's no rehabilitation. what did we do other than lock people up?
Well, that's why I'm a huge advocate for the mobile crisis units. Um, but I'm definitely glad that you brought up the case, the fact that there were a lot of food banks beforehand. Where are these food banks now? I think I read an article probably two months ago from Lars, and it featured Lars has a new director, Shannon Mouton. So she's like the first African American executive director there. But one of the stark points was how Prince George's County, we're supposedly very affluent, but there was still a lot of food need. Um, and I forgot the exact food insecurity. There was still great food insecurity, and they matched this up with like Montgomery County, Northern Virginia, and so as you can see, at the beginning of the pandemic, we had people pulling up in their Lexus and the Mercedes Benz. Still to this day, some of those same people didn't get back on their feet. Are still struggling. And as it's tough for everybody. It is tough for everybody. So the thought is, I had a question for you. One is, I know you've been doing the work, and you're mentioning people reaching out to you. How do these clients find you? Do you is it kind of word of mouth? Is it did you build your network, or how do you get
So
in
what
touch?
it what it is, it's a combination of both. One, I because of being who I am in the community, I'm a voice. Period. It doesn't matter the cause or the issue. The group that I run, the We Take Care of Us movement, concentrates on systemic issues that plague the community. Now, we may not necessarily always be as vocally and way out front as maybe some other individuals because we strategize different. When I say we strategize different, this is what we do. We may do a Zoom call, we may have meetings and stuff with the powers that be, but we're about boots on the ground. We're about, okay, what can we do to come up with a comprehensive solution until the powers that be, are can meet. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Um, we despite this historic inauguration that we just um, a lot of the council has come in. That's good, phenomenal. We still need to hit the ground and deal with the homeless disparity in Prince George's County. Right now, I'm sending referrals outside of the county for men to get a cot in Baltimore City when there should be something here in Prince George's County that they can go to. The homeless facility can only hold 40 men. So you got to think about on an average basis. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I'm a housing advocate for all. Now, I'm going to say this. It's ruffled some feathers before, but it is what it is. We don't advocate enough for our darn black men here in Prince George's County. I'm the first one to say it. Because and I have youth that have transitioned out of the foster care, men, young black men who have transitioned out of the foster care program, who have told me, said, Mr. Clark, I don't know what else to do. I'm going to tell you another thing that I saw an increase in. When the last plight of the year, okay, We Take Care of Us movement did a press conference trying to figure out what has happened with the $208 million that have been allocated for rental housing.
You got a little storm, y'all. Lights went off on me there. Oh, there we go. We back on.
Okay. Um, um, and I had young men saying, "Hey, you know where I'm at, Mr. Clark? I'm standing outside this gas station right here because my mom is working Uber Eats. She won't be able to be on this side of town until 10 o'clock. Now, mind you, this curfew that had been implemented, stating that, if youth were, found out that, they could get all the
Was it a 9 p.m.? Because it
uh,
was short lived, but it was 9 p.m.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And so I had youth.
It was more just on paper. It wasn't actually to do anything, but yeah.
But I actually in some places where they were really hyping up, you know, I guess trying to implement it and get it followed. So I had youth that were like, "Hey, the library closed at 8 o'clock. I don't have no friends. I don't have no family or nowhere I can go to stay out of here." Like, So literally, I was on the phone. I Attorney Sweat, myself,
Oh wow.
literally
That-
were contacting the chief, saying, "Hey, how are you, sir? This is the dilemma of what we have in some of our areas. Can you work with us, or before that you begin to implement this curfew being breached or broken, because the thing of this is this what you have. If the parents are already working a job, now they're not able to work that job because now they got to deal with, oh, why is it that your son was out here, or why was your daughter out here, why was your child out here? And the parents is like, well, I had to work to make money so that I can try to pay for roofing over my head in the midst of a hotel, because that's what a lot of people aren't even aware of right now what's happening in Prince George's County right now as we speak.
yeah. And so you uncovered a lot, and so I just want to hit on the one point, right? So we always talk about kind of doing the same things. We've seen more townhomes being built. We see more single family homes. The suburban sprawl. I've always been a fan of transit oriented development. Make sure we're built around metro stations. As you mentioned, there's a lot of build that needs to happen. It's still in Southern Maryland. you know have you pitched or given any thought to tiny home communities, and also another idea that I've seen, similar to what you were saying, the warming stations, was I think it was a Swedish community. They were doing solar powered pods, so basically on like very cold winter nights and stuff like that. So have you given that any thought? I know I've firsthand seen a tiny home veteran community that looked pretty great.
I do like the tiny home community. And I was even thinking about something that I had suggested about creating a uh, I would say a work to live, if you may. Work to live could be where you you build a certain portion of housing, if that makes sense. So
Right.
if it's a 2 bedroom facility, is to say a townhouse or a regular trailer or whatever, because it's different facets that you can, routes that you can go. If you want to do a mobile home, we can do that. But what I pitched was, if we somehow, okay, if there's going to be some type of agreement that developers can come in and build somewhere within in that agreement, let's take a certain portion of that and let's allocate that toward individuals where we call it a work to live, where they could build. Individuals could build. You know, if some of them have their own uh, knowledge of trade skills, you know, so they could, in essence, they could help build their own development for the roof over their head.
I love the work to live idea. I know I had an idea like that when I took an entrepreneurship class in Howard Community College. So I definitely love the idea. I have a few rapid questions for you. And you know, if you've ever seen it, very simple, and you know, a lot less serious, right? And so my first question is icebreaker. What's your favorite, Pepsi or Coke?
Pepsi.
Oh, you are different, Kenneth, and I knew you were different well before this show. I knew you were well before this show.
You
And
see what
so
I got right?
yes, yes. My next question is, what is your what is your favorite superhero and why?
Okay, so this one's a little bit different. I like Incredible.
From the Incredibles?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. That's definitely different. That's definitely different. I ain't gonna lie to you. I ain't gonna well why? Why Incredible?
Because he's different. It's like he's spontaneous. He's just, you know, it's like you can just sit back and think like, wow, I wonder what his next move going to be. He's so vibrant. He's so energetic. He's just, when you see him, you get joy. Think
Yeah.
about it. When you say incredible, you start smiling.
Yes. Yeah, no, I mean great character. Great character. And the movie or the movies nonetheless. Okay, okay. That's very funny. And so my last one is if you were a young male, what is a book you would recommend a young black male?
It's a book
7 steps.
called
Okay, well,
Seven Steps to Kill My Nigga: How to Win in America While Being Black, and it's by Kay Taylor, and it's edited by D. Allen Miller.
okay, that one sounds spicy. I'm gonna definitely check that. Put that right on my book list, guys. If anybody knows my holiday book list, definitely pick it up for me, so I can add it to my book collection. You know, Kenneth, it's been a wonder. One of the things I wanted to say was, you know, next month I plan to do a fair housing symposium, and so I'll definitely invite you out. You know, I've been doing a lot to spread the awareness of you know the fight here in Laurel for fair housing and economic justice. And one of the things you mentioned and uplifted was Martin Luther King Jr., who I'm named after, right? So, you know, Martin means leader. If nobody knows, my mom tells me all the time. But Kenneth, I appreciate you, and tell people how they could stay connected and get connected with you if they're not already.
Okay, so on Instagram, these are all lowercase letters. Change Agent Now Forever. That is one way you can reach me. That comes directly to my phone. So you won't get a secretary, you won't get somebody else, you'll get strictly me. That's one way. You can always go to Uncut Live Productions on Facebook, and you can type in Uncut Live Productions. Um, you can be able to follow me there. My regular page, which is Kenneth Clark, and then also the group that I spoke of a few minutes ago, the We Take Care of Us movement. We Take Care of Us movement, which is on Facebook as well. Social Distance Against Racism group. You can also uh, get in contact with me there. And then, last but not least, you can get in touch with the outreach, street outreach community ministry, Breath of Life Come As You Are Ministry, that is on Facebook. And all these things that I just mentioned, if you type it in on YouTube, these things will pop right up because also too, as a digital content creator, I'm constantly using social media for social change and using social media to be a voice for the people. So these are outlets, and you can reach me at, and we going to keep pushing for change.
Absolutely. Kenneth's one of the people that, he's always going to ask questions. He's always going to keep me honest. And, for anybody that doesn't know, something I learned recently, just one fact about Kenneth is he gives money out of his pocket every day to, feed people. Or every week, I should say, right? Hundreds of dollars every week to feed people. And when I found that out, I was amazed because, at the end of the day, this isn't somebody, who's a millionaire or, hey, I don't know. He could be a silent millionaire, right? But, for all I know, he lives a very humble life. And, he's doing all he can for the community. And we all should be inspired by, thankless work that you do, right? Because giving back can be thankless.
Yes, yes, indeed, yes, indeed. And I appreciate you, sir. I have always been admiring you and your leadership, and your courage and your tenacity and being a voice for the people. And I can honestly say, from your leadership, it has given me much hope for the future to come. And
Yeah,
so,
I appreciate you, Kenneth, for those words because I'm a humble person, right? And so I don't talk about everything that gets done, nor do I talk about the behind the scenes stuff a lot. So you're one that knows that, like, me being a player in politics, it's not always easy to be on the opposite end of the colleagues in the spectrum. So but as I say, there's always going to be more people than there are politicians, and so that's why this show is important, so I can have my own honest outlet.
yes, indeed. I appreciate you, man.
Yes, I appreciate you. We'll see you soon, and we'll definitely connect in the new year. Happy holidays to you and your family.
All right, now appreciate you, brother.
Yes, sir. Later. So that was this week's edition of People Over Politics. I want all you guys out there to have a beautiful time with your families. And one of the things I said earlier, I had a cancel rent hikes rally earlier this week, and it was basically just to bring attention to let council colleagues and the community know that this is the time to act. This is the time to lead. Laurel has been on the forefront. It's been expressed. If you saw the most recent Laurel Independent article, that Laurel has one of the highest average apartment rents, in Prince George's County, right? And so we need to act on this. And one of the things I will say is, what are you getting for the holidays? Some people are getting extreme rent hikes. Some people are getting. Some people get to go on vacations with their beautiful families. So the thought is all I say is lead with empathy, serve with compassion, and I'll see you guys soon. Have a good holidays.